Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani live from Detroit, Michigan. Actually, probably not live because we're going to send this on a recording. With Grant Turner, we are weighing in, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. GT, you probably see me enough for the week. You're already sick of me, brother. How's life?
Everything's good, man. Just getting ready for the national tournament. Pop off.
Yeah, for sure. So I have not seen you on the air, so congratulations to you, Nick, Grandview. We had Nick on Matt Chat, who was very well received, great as usual. A lot about the championship culture that you guys have developed there. But formally, congratulations to you. Congratulations to Omi and those guys at Life for another great tournament. They have built a program that has staying power. They took second this year, and all the other teams there. And congratulations to Mike Mockles in Missouri Valley, who's calling it a career. What were your thoughts on the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I want to give a huge shout out to Mike. The man has dedicated his life to Missouri Valley Wrestling. There was a gathering of all the alumni to kind of have him have a send-off at the national tournament. Gentlemen like Bobby Lashley came back. Jakara Winchester was at the national tournament. A lot of the alumni from his first team and throughout the entire of his career. Anytime when you have a gentleman that's dedicated that much time and effort, and national championship coach, so a huge shout out to Mike. Mutual respect. Nothing but good things to say about them and their program. And of course, all the other competitors within the NAI, great job. All of the teams, extremely good tournament, hosted very well. Yeah.
And we're gonna toot our own horn here for a minute. Border Brawl went off last night. Kids wrestle great, man. 15 matches and a few kids. We had Braden Thompson with a concussion. A couple other kids had travel issues, but overall was a great event. Very successful for us in terms of fundraising. The first time we did it outside of Missouri. We want to thank all the sponsors and especially you guys for helping us put that together. The uniforms were great. The venue was great. First time out of Missouri. So happy that went off, I would say, pretty smoothly. So
yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So we're here for the show. You and I are probably 4 miles apart right now. So probably the closest we're ever going to do this. Mark is on his way up, but he is texting me his picks. If people wonder why I'm looking at my phone. So we are going to share screen. We're going to go to brackets. And so here's what we're going to do, folks. We are going to pick our champions. We are going to pick our semifinalists. And we are going to pick our one non-top eighter to the All-American. So we kind of broke the brackets down last week with the top 8 seeds. Suriano the 1, Key the 8, Cardinal the 5, Glory the 4, Courtney the 4, Glory the 3. Barnett's the 6, Mastro's the 7, Vito's the 2. I will give you Mark's picks. He's got Vito winning it, Suriano, Glory, and Cardinal in the semis. And shockingly, Drake Ayala is his non-top eighter.
Weird.
Mark's always going to be welcome when he comes back to Iowa. It's always going to be a thing. So.
Yes, it will be.
He did go herky head when we did the one in Iowa City against Penn State. So
complete homer.
Complete homer. But hey, Ayala's not a bad pick. I may go there myself, so we'll see. Who do you got in the sems? And who's your champ? And who's your non-top eight?
Okay, go. So I have Suriano, Courtney, top side. Okay. On the bottom side, I'm just gonna be completely stock about it. I'm going Glory and Vito, and I have Suriano winning it.
Okay.
And then outside of my top, outside the top or seeded 8th guys.
Yeah.
I'm going Taylor Lamont.
Yeah, so this is a super interesting bracket, right? You and I have talked all year, Mark too. No one really wanted to be ranked number 5, right? Like the top 4 guys really haven't moved much once Soriano moved in. Glory beat Vito in the duel. Vito dang near teched him in the EIWAs. Courtney's been super consistent, only lost to Glory this year. So had some close matches. Lamont's a guy that's been inconsistent. There's so many guys you could pick. I'm going to pick Vito to win it. I like the same 4, the top 4 seeds to make the semis. Those guys have been really consistent all year. And I'll try to pick somebody different. If I was going deep sleeper, 2 20 seeds that I think are going to do better than that are Latona, Kais, and Tirakina. But if I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah. And then if I had to pick a guy though, I think DiAgostino, he's, Big Ten tested, wrestled a bunch of guys. Mastro's not 100%. He's injured. And that's the easiest way to break into it, right? Is to get into the quarters and then only have to win 1 more match. In his path, he's got Shawver and then either Tirakina or Master Giovanni. And I think Tirakina could beat Mastro. It was a really close match. There was like 4 bricks thrown at the Big 12s. And I think DiAgostino can win that match. There's a ton of 1-point matches in this bracket, which is probably a common theme. So 33, we'll give you Mark's picks first, then we'll give you mine. Mark's got Fix winning it. He's got RBY in the finals, DeSanto and McGee, and his non-top 8 is Chris Cannon. So I like RBY making the semis. By the way, I just left the press conference, so big shout. It was cool for USA Wrestling, got to do some interviews. On the stage was Gable Stevenson, RBY, David Carr, Yanni Diakomahalis, and Miles Amin. I was struck by the cultural diversity of that group and of excellence. It was interesting to watch. And the 4 coaches they had were Zeke Jones, Pat Popolizio, Tom Brands, Sean Bourmet. So thanks to those guys, they all took a little bit of time with me. DeSanto, I think everybody all year has thought he's the 3rd best guy, but he gets the 5 seed. I don't think it actually hurts him. I mean, he's done really well against Corbin Myers. He's really been competitive with RBY. If somehow DeSanto were to beat Roman Bravo Young, that would be huge in the team race for all sorts of reasons. Mikhail McGee feels like a really good pick to make the semis. Biscaglia is going to give him trouble with that baseball bat grip. I mean, like they're going to have to scout that because that guy's hard to wrestle. But if he gets by there and the seeds hold, he's got Ragusin, who he majored. I mean, there's no easy draws in the Nationals, but the quarterfinals, the guy you majored, that's probably as good as it gets. And him wrestling Fix is probably a better draw than RBY because RBY put it on him pretty good in those December duels. Yeah. I got Fix and RBY in the finals. I cannot decide who wins it. I've been going back and forth. I saw RBY this morning, so I'll pick him. It's like a complete definition of recency bias.
Right, for sure.
And I'm going to pick, I don't want to pick who Mark picked. I'm going to pick Biscaglia. I just think he's a weird match for a lot of guys. And I don't think he thinks he's going to win the tournament. And I think those are the guys that wrestle the best on the back. So who you got?
Gotcha. All right. So I got RBY AD on the top side. I have Fix McGee on the bottom. I have Fix winning it. And then as far as like a double-digit guy that I think could basically be a top 8 type guy, is I'm going to take Mickey Philippi.
That's a great. If you hadn't pointed, I'm like, that's a great pick. Yeah. He can give DeSanto some problems, and he can also come through the back if he were to lose that match. So,
for sure.
Yeah, and he's the Cody Russell match feels like that's a fairly good matchup for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go to 41. Mark's picks are Nick Lee, Sebastian Rivera, Jay Nyerman, Andrew Alirez. His non-top 8 guy is Alan Hart. He's going way out there picking the 9, like huge risk on his part. So
yeah, big risk guy.
All right, go ahead. Who you got?
Okay, so I have for 41, I have Nick Lee, and then I have Alirez. And then on the bottom, I have Chad Red and Ironman. And Red, of course, is my outside of the top 20 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Outside the top 8 type pick.
And then you have Nick Lee winning the tournament.
Yes.
Okay. So this is such an interesting weight, right? Because like supposedly Ironman's got an ACL problem. Supposedly Sebastian Rivera was going to medical default to him if it hadn't got, or Lee Ironman was going to default to Rivera if it hadn't gone the other way. Somebody said Rivera's banged up. Somebody else said he was just trying to win the Hodge and wanted to have as many dominant wins as possible. I'm like, nobody's beating Gable for the Hodge. Like, you're an Olympic champ, like, so, and I love the Chad Red pick. I love Chad Red as the pick, my non-top 8 pick. I think Rivera makes the finals here. I think he's healthy. He's had a great season. He hasn't wrestled a ton of top-ranked guys. He gets Jacob Butler, who's got a losing record. Chad Red hasn't made it to the quarterfinals in forever in this tournament. Then he would have probably Cole Matthews, which is obviously a tough draw. And then if Ironman being hurt all year makes so much more sense. I mean, he's had all these close matches. So, I mean, it actually makes a lot more sense if he's wrestling on one wheel. I like Nick Lee on the top. You guys both picked Alira, so I'll just pick Real Woods because I think Real Woods is good at wrestling and he probably should be undefeated. They called that goofy touch fall with him and Grant Willits. And if he was undefeated, this would really be interesting on whether or not, like, he probably would have been the 3 seed because he would have been a conference champ, which would have been really interesting. And I got Nick Lee wrestling or winning the tournament. I will say this, RBY said at the press conference that he's not sure if this is his last season, or before it was kind of confirmed that it was his last season. He obviously has the COVID year, so that's interesting. Okay, 49. Mark's picks are Yanni against Tariq Wilson, Sasso and Parco in the semis. His non-top 8 is Bryce Andonian. I will go first here. Yanni was at the press conference. That's a guy I would like to get 45 minutes with. He's, he called himself a wrestling nerd, talked about he watches wrestling as often as possible. I think he's just an interesting cat. Parco and Sasso, I don't know how Mark picked that because they're on the same side of the bracket. I'm assuming he means Gomez to make the semis. So I think the Parco Sasso match is fascinating, GT, because Parco lost to Bo Bartlett. That's his only loss, but he's got some really good wins. And Parco, the way he attacks, he doesn't attack where a lot of those cradles will be there for Sasso. And he's good at like getting to the body and getting your feet off the ground. And that's the way that is the formula for beating Sasso. I'm not saying he can do it, but we saw there's 2 ways to beat him, like out scramble him like Yanni did, or be super clean on your finishes. My non-top 8 guy is Yaya. He won me my fantasy pool last year. And I think Yanni wins the tournament. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have Yanni winning the tournament. I have Yanni, Sasso, Gomez, Wilson. And then my outside of the box guy is Jaden Abbas.
Yeah, it's a good pick. He's like the 23 seed, right?
Yeah. So he's got a really, really tough bout right out the gate with Ridge Levitt, who ended up getting a 10 spot, which, that Big Ten is just, it's wicked. I mean, he's got only like 3 losses on the year. The guy's a beast.
Yeah. It's some of these formulas are weird, right? But Jaden Abbas, so like his downside is he was getting tech fall or majored by Mitch Moore when Mitch Moore got the concussion. The upside is he's a returning All-American with great bloodlines, right? So like, but his style, he could beat Lovett. He could beat the winner of Heil Edmond. I don't know if he can beat Tariq, but like it feels like he's going to have a lot of winnable matches. Okay, right. 50. Yeah, for sure. 57. Mark's got Ryan Deacon beating Carr. He's got Monday and Teamer, and his top 8 is Berge. So Berge, this is probably a good time to just mention this. Penn State got some tough draws on their non-top guys. So like RBY got a 1, Nick Lee got a 1, Starachi got a 1, Aaron Brooks got a 2, and Max Dean got a 1. And Kirk Fleet got I think a 4 or 5. We'll get there. Those guys are all seated pretty much where we thought they were going to be. But Hildebrand went from being the 5th ranked guy to going 0-2 or 1-3 or something at the Big Ten and drops down to the 16 hole. And then Berge, same thing here. He gets the 16 seed, even though he took third in the Big Ten. But the problem was he comes out of retirement, wrestled some matches at 65. Like we saw him get handled by Marinelli in the duel. But I mean, it was early on. He wasn't in shape. He kind of got carvered. You know, there's like a bunch of those things going into effect there. Now he's down to fighting weight. But the 16 seed's tough, man, because when you come back to the bracket, you got some problems. You know, and you're going to be put on the backside fairly early, assuming you don't upset the one.
Right.
So those are Mark's picks. Go ahead. Who you got there, GT?
At 57, I have Carr, Monday, Teamer, Deacon, Carr winning it, and Austin O'Connor as my outside of the box pick.
So first of all, anytime you can pick a defending national champion as your outside of the box pick, I feel like that's pretty salty. So
I feel like it's a pretty good idea.
Pretty good idea. So it's interesting. I've got Carr and I've got Quincy Monday too. Are we sleeping on Ed Scott, GT? Is that what are we not giving him as his love?
No, I think Ed Scott deserves as much love as possible. I mean, give the man his flowers. He's a beast. You know, I think he's, you know, the guy that I think he's earned the right to be in the conversation. The only reason that I pick Monday is I just think that I think he's extremely explosive, especially in neutral. I think, you know, when it comes down to just getting takedowns at the national tournament, I think he maybe just edges Ed Scott like in a 6-5 match.
Yeah.
And once again, no disrespect to Ed or the NC State crew. I just feel a little bit better about Monday, just in that particular matchup, if the way that it plays out between those two get to the quarters.
Yeah, if they get to the quarters, it's the leg attacks on Monday versus the upper body wrestling and scrambling of Ed Scott. And Ed Scott's probably the superior mat wrestler on top. So if that's a 2-1 match, a 0-0 match, it favors Ed Scott. If it's 4-1 Quincy Monday and he can pick neutral, it obviously that favors him. I agree. Carr Monday, which is ironic, like, you know, Carr Monday were the matches back in the day, and people don't know this, but maybe I shouldn't say they don't know this. Kenny Monday was, quote, only a one-time national champion because he was in Nate Carr's weight, and Nate Carr won that weight 3 times. So that was also a weight that had like Roger Frizzell in it and Wes Roper, and the top 4 guys in the Big 8 were the top 4 guys at nationals. Bottom side, I think the country is sleeping on Ja'Cory Teamer. I just think people like he's out west. Like I have a friend out at Arizona State that told me he shot 17 times in the finals, which I'm sure is an exaggeration, but let's say it's half of that and it's 8 or 9. And the other guy didn't shoot once and they didn't call stalling and it goes into overtime. Teamer scored a ton of points last year at the Nationals. He beat Hayden Hidley. He was up like 10-0 before he got comfortable, you know, taking the lid off your soda at Nationals. And he didn't get a great draw. Like he's going to have to wrestle the winner of Frantic O'Connor in the quarters and then Deacon in the semis of the seeds hold. But I will pick an upset here. I think Teamer makes the finals. I think Carr wins the tournament. And I can't disagree with O'Connor as your top 8. I hate copying other people's picks, but I feel like that's a complete, well thought out, no-brainer one. So I will defer to you, sir. Go to 165, one of the most fascinating weights. So Mark, making sure that his run for governor in Iowa is consistent, has Alex Marinelli winning the tournament. He's got Wick in the finals, O'Toole and Griffith. I guess these are his top. No, I guess that's right. Because you're going to have Marinelli beating O'Toole and Wick beating Griffith in the semis. His non-top 8 is Jake Wenzel, which again, you get to pick a national finalist as your non-top 8er. I think it's my turn to go first here. I got a weird feeling that Shane Griffith is going to figure out how to beat Wick. I don't know why. I don't have like all I can say is it's super hard to beat somebody that many times. And the last one in the finals was 8-7. Now I didn't watch the match. Could have been 8-3 and he got a 4-pointer at the end, but it could have been 8-7. And, you know, if it's 8-7, and you keep chipping away, plus Griffith has won this tournament. And when there's something about, how that is, GT, like, you've coached a lot of guys. You were a successful wrestler. I was a pretty successful wrestler. There's something about going in like, I've won this tournament and that other guy hasn't. Like, find me the biggest, brightest light, get me on a stage, put me on ESPN on Friday night, and then we'll see who's better. This ain't t-shirts and shorts. And I'm not saying that like Wick can't handle the pressure. I'm just saying that Shane Griffith knows he can. Right. So I think there's something to that. I think Marinelli makes the semis here. I think this is like the best draw Marinelli's ever had at Nationals, right? He gets Barzak. He probably gets Ogunsanya. If the seeds hold, he gets Cam Amin. Those are all super winnable matches for him. I think O'Toole kind of got a terrible draw. I mean, he's going to have probably Yant. Valencia's banged up, but he's going to get Karchla or Wenzel. And both those guys, Carson Karchla kind of has a really good style to wrestle O'Toole. Now, I'm a complete homer. Keegan O'Toole did a clinic for us. He could not have been a nicer human being. He's been super dominant. He's undefeated. I'm picking him to win the bracket, and I'm picking him to beat Shane Griffith in the finals. And my non-top 8, I get that Wenzel's a returning runner-up. I just don't. I'm not sure that I buy all the way into that. I mean, this is super, super chicken out, but I'll take Peyton Hall just because he's 25-3 and 2 of his losses are against O'Toole. And if I think O'Toole's the best guy in the weight, can't really hold those losses against him. And I also think he's under the radar. So go, who you got here?
All right. So here's what I got. I got Wick, Griffith, Marinelli, and O'Toole for my semifinalists.
Okay.
Give me the cradle final of the century between Wick and O'Toole. And I have O'Toole winning it, via cradle.
Via fall.
Yeah, that's where I'm going, right? So I want all of the cradles to happen.
I want all the heat. Bring me all the smoke.
Exactly. I totally agree with the Marinelli pick. I think Alex has got the best draw that he possibly could have out of the tournaments that he's been involved in. I think he's as healthy as he's ever going to be in a collegiate season. And I think, with Wick and Griffith, Wick, once again, I think he has the supreme confidence too that he's already beat Griffith a couple of times now. I think
that's the other way to look at it, right? That's the other way to look at it. Yeah.
That carries him, I think, into the finals. And I think then O'Toole, once again, I'm just picking him because I like the kid, and I want cradle versus cradle. So let's lock it up and see who gets what.
He's also a U20 world champ.
Yeah, I like that piece. So yeah, I have O'Toole winning it for the MIZ ZOU, and then I'm going to use my outside of the box picker, Luke Weber, my dude from NDSU, which I had picked at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you picked this dude all year. So
16 seed.
Yeah.
Guy's a beast. I just think where he will wind up at here in this bracket, crazy things have happened, and he's funky. So I like him a lot.
I respect the consistency and the loyalty of the picks there. So, all right, 174. Let's see who Mark's got. Starachi, Lewis, Kemmer, or Massa, non-top 8, Labriola. The fact that Labriola is not in the top 8 is unbelievable to me. All right, so you go ahead and go first here. Who you got?
I got Starachi, Kemmerer, and I have Lewis on the bottom, wrestling. Give me 1 second. I have this written down.
Maybe Massa?
No, I did not have Massa. I had Plot.
Okay. So Plot's an interesting, I'll let you get, Plot's going to have Mako in the Big 12 final rematch in round 2 if the seeds hold. And he was losing that match with 20 seconds left. So the good news is, he knows how to win that match. The bad news is that was not an easy match to win. So, okay.
No, I think that, and then I have Lewis winning it as far as my champ at that weight.
You got Mackay over Starachi in the finals, or Mackay over Kemmerer in the finals.
I have Mackay over Kemmerer in the finals.
So you have Kemmerer beating Starachi in the semis. So you can also run for lieutenant governor in Iowa. I got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Then who's your non-top 8?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I will definitely be, on Mark's ticket for sure.
Yeah. And you got Labs as your non-top 8 or somebody different?
No, I mean, I love Labriola. I think he got completely screwed on his seed. I think that guy's just an absolute beast. But I'm going to go a little bit in a different way. I'm going to probably take your boy. I'll take Foca.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so to me, this is such an interesting way, right? Because like Labriola got kind of hosed in the seeds, but Starachi gets hosed in the seeds because he gets Labriola in the quarters. Like, that's terrible, right? I mean, Starachi's undefeated, but assuming Labriola can beat O'Mike O'Malley, that's not a fun quarterfinal draw for the number 1 guy. Then, Kemmerer feels like, him and Hidley, that's a great quarter. Kemmerer's not 100%. Hidley I saw him this morning. They're just, him and his brother just down there goofballing around, getting a sweat in. And, Pat Pop said, all these guys are eating good. So like, they're in a good mood. They're not worn down. Logan Massa, I will say this. I could not have been more wrong about Logan Massa. I just thought like, man, they're dragging him out of retirement. He don't want to wrestle anymore. They're just kind of making him do this for the run. And he's wrestled unbelievable this year. The only guy he's lost to is Starachi. We mentioned Mako Plot. Ethan Smith's a pretty dangerous 7 seed. It's hard for me to unsee what Mackay Lewis did in his run to the finals when he beat Chenzo that year as a freshman. I was like, good Lord, because Chenzo had kind of upset Aymar. Like, we thought Aymar was going to be that 4-timer, and then it was Chenzo was going to be that 4-timer, and then Mackay wrestled with 1 arm last year. I really want to see Starachi, Mackay, just because I think the athleticism would just, it's like the all cradle match at 65, right? Like the flurries these 2 guys could put together. You'd have another age group world champ there. I was wrong. I said Starachi was the most improved national champion from last year. The most improved national champion from last year is Gable Stevenson. And like, I don't even think that's debatable. When you go win an Olympic gold medal, I think that's the definition of jumping a level or 2. So, but Starachi's right up there. I'm going to pick what I want here. I'm going to pick Mackay Starachi, and they're both defending champs. It's so weird. I'll pick Mackay just because I think he's like all-time great potential, and then my non-top 8, I mean, I'm not going to pick Labs, just even though that's sort of the easy pick. I'll take Cade DeVos. I think he's had a good season. I think he's sneaky in there. If Kemmerer's not 100%, he could sneak in, and that would help him a ton. And usually the 12 hole doesn't have a miserable on the backside comeback. So 84, he's got Brooks, Keckheisen, Amin, and Hidley. His non-top 8 is Hunter Bolin. I will go first here. And by the way, Mark was right. He did say Amin would beat Brooks at some point this year. He also said he didn't think they'll beat him more than once. Mark's pretty smart, man. Like, I've been knowing about this guy for years now. He helped me a ton with the rankings. I don't see anybody upsetting the apple cart on Amin versus Keckheisen in the semis. Keckheisen has only lost to Aaron Brooks. That's kind of a low key. I don't think enough people are giving Keckheisen credit. I think Amin wins, but I think it's a 3-2, 4-3 match. And I think Hidley, Brooks, I think Brooks is winning the tournament. I think the worst thing that happened for anybody was that Brooks lost in the Big Ten finals. Like, I think he got tired. I think he kind of got confident, overconfident. And I think you coached a long time. Sometimes a guy taking a loss is the best. You're kind of smiling. You're like, man, this dude stopped listening. and he's going to be super coachable for 10 days. And I'm not saying Aaron Brooks wasn't being coachable, but he's probably a new level of coachable. So I got Brooks over Amin in the finals, and I'm going to take Taylor Venz as my non-top 8 guy. So the floor is yours, sir.
All right. I mean, I see it very similar. I mean, it's very stock to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think that's just how this weight class is gonna go.
Yeah.
I actually have Keckeisen beating Amin on the top, getting to the finals, and then wrestling Brooks, and then Brooks wins. So Keckeisen Brooks in the national finals.
Okay.
I think also like Brooks having to wrestle Heidley, I think that's going to be a crazy match in the semis. Yeah. I think it's going to be great. I just think that's just going to be pure fireworks. As far as my out of the box guy, I'm going to take Poznansky from Rutgers. I think that he's still pretty kind of young, but I believe he was an All-American last year.
He was.
And I think that where he winds up, I think he'll lose to Keckeisen, but I think that where he bounces back, I think he has a very favorable road back to the top 8. But once again, it's the national tournament. Anything's possible.
So in this weight class, Hunter Bolin is an All-American, previously non-top 8er. Venz is a previous All-American. Poznansky is a previous All-American. Britt Wilson is a previous All-American. So, I mean, you've got sort of your Dakota Gear is a previous All-American.
Yeah.
So you got 4 or 5 guys you could pick here and feel pretty good about it. And, so, I mean, that kind of shows you the depth of this weight. So the AJ Ferrari Invitational is off this year. So 197 is officially open for business. You want to guess who Mark picked to win the tournament?
Jacob Warner.
No. Close. Right colors. M-I-Z.
Oh, my heavens.
Rocky Elam to win the tournament. Rocky Elam over Dean, Buchanan and Warner. Non-top 8 is Aiello. So I have a feeling here we're all going to pick different people because this weight is just chaos without Ferrari. So you can lead off. Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to take Dean, Nino Bonacorsi. I'm going to take Schultz and Buchanan.
Okay.
I'm going to have Buchanan winning it against Nino Bonacorsi.
Mark and the Fighting Branches get their national title. I love it.
I just think that this weight class is so crazy and upside down that, like, once again, just throw something at the dartboard because, and once again, I'm going to go off of a little bit of a run here, but like, there's tons of talent within this weight class. I mean, like 1 through 33, like these guys are all stinking pretty good.
Yeah.
You have, Dupre, Cam Caffey, Norfleet was like the 3 seed last year.
Yeah.
Like Schultz was the 2 seed last year. Cardenas only has 6 losses. You have Jake Woodley returning All-American. You have Tanner Sloan, like U23 or U19 world team member. You have Braxton Amos, who is the god of thunder this past year in Greco and in freestyle.
Yeah.
You have younger Batista, who's knocked off like countless people throughout the entire year, wrestled a really, really good season. Isaac Trumbull only has 4 losses. He's a 15 seed.
And he beat Rocky.
Yes. So like, you got all sorts of talent at this weight. And even the guys that maybe have like, let's say a lot more losses on their resume, all those guys wrestled, they kind of beat each other as the season kind of goes along, right? So all of a sudden you have like 3 losses to one dude. You wrestled Buchanan a couple of times, and then you wrestled, Woodley, and then you wrestled Younger, and it's like, well, actually, you're really good. You just lost to like, 5 or 6 guys in the top 15.
Yeah. Who's your non-top 8er? Because there's a lot of good guys to pick from here.
Okay, so then my one that I'm going to take Jake Woodley.
Yeah, I like that pick. So I have gone back and forth on this because Rocky Elam did not look good the last month of the year. He did not look good in the duel with Iowa State. He got tired. He did not look good at the Big 12s. He went into overtime with like a guy from Utah Valley. So like there's just kind of some weird stuff, but his upside is so high. He's good at hand fighting. He's almost impossible to stop once he gets his hand on your leg. He's really long. He can ride. And he did an unbelievable job at this tournament last year. I think he took 4th or 5th. And one of his losses was to Amin. Went on and won a freaking Olympic bronze medal. But he's got younger Bastida in round 2, who he's lost to twice. But the weird thing is Bastida is losing to Elam 1-0 every time the match starts because he's not going to pick down. So like Rocky can give away one takedown and still, like get to overtime and win the match. Having said all that, I'm going to pick Elam to come out of the bottom quarter bracket. Yeah. I'm sure that's some border brawl love. I'm sure that's I got to be able to get back into Missouri. So I'm going to pick Schultz to make the semis. I'm going to go nuts here. I'm going to pick Jake Woodley to make the semifinals. He shoots more than anybody else on that team combined. Good things happen to those that attack. And he made the semis last year from like a 20-something seed. So it feels like he can do it from the 13 seed. I got Max Dean coming out on top. I got Max Dean against Rocky, and I'll take Max Dean. And my non-top 8 is either Woodley. I mean, there's a bunch of guys here. You could take Tanner Sloan. You could take Trumbull. You could take younger Bastida. I think there's a bunch of guys. I think the round of 16 and round of 12 of 197 are going to be a ton of coin flips. And it's going to have a huge impact because, like, right now, Brucky is seated really high, and neither one of us have him making the semis. That's a big piece of Michigan winning this thing. They think, I'm sure, he can win the whole tournament. We've got him losing in the quarterfinals, which puts him in the blood round. So nobody's going to talk about, if anybody here doesn't pick Gable, they're off my podcast. I'm just going to say that. Like, you're my friend, but you're off the pod.
That's hilarious.
Okay, he's got Gable, Paris, Cassiope, Kirkfleet, and he took my preseason non-top 8er. He took Gas Tank Garrett. So I got Gable top. I got Kirk coming, to the semi. It feels like, the Wyatt Hendrickson thing, who knew how that was going to turn out. I like Paris because Paris, he's got a good draw to the quarters. He's never lost to Schultz, and he's never lost to Cassiope. And I think this is if 97 may be disappointing for Michigan based on seed. I think they can make up those seed points here. Nobody's taken first unless Gable decides not to wrestle. And Gable sounded very much like he was interested in competing at the press conference. So, he seems like he's here for the smoke, And I also think people should feel 100% confident, unless the team race dictates, they're going to end at heavyweight. Because Gable, that's the dude you want to have be your walk-off match at Nationals. So, I got Paris in the finals. That's all I need to say. We know who's winning it. And I'm going to stick with Gas Tank Gary. I picked him at the beginning of the year. And, I got to ride or die. So you've got Gable winning. What else you got here?
As friends, I am picking Gable. And as a very, very smart wrestling person, I'm going to pick Gable as well. I have Kirkfleet. I think I'm very interested in seeing the Wyatt Hendrickson match with Kirkfleet. What a cool story that would be to have an Air Force guy make it to the semis. Once again, I think that would be a very intriguing matchup. I'm going to take the Colton Schultz train and then the Cassiope train on the bottom. And then I'm going to basically pick that Tony beats Schultz. So it'll be Gable, Tony Cassiope, national finals with Gable winning it. And then my outside the top 8 pick is I'm going to take Hilger from Wisconsin.
who's done it before, right? He was 7th or 8th last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's obviously a solid pick. I mean, the Nathan Traxler is a guy you could pick. I think Luis Fernandez is a guy you could pick. He's really good on top of legs. That especially on the backside, guys get frustrated, So here are the team rankings. We've got Penn State. This is the composite average, 111 and change. Michigan, 92 and change. Iowa, 82 and change. Arizona State, 64 and 64 flat. NC State, 57. It seems difficult. Mark didn't give me his team picks, but I'm assuming he's just going to pick Iowa to take 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th as part of his campaign promise to make the Hawkeye State great again. So I don't know who he's going to pick if he sends it to me here in the next 5 minutes. Who do you got in order? We'll go 5-1. Who's your 5th place team?
So 5th place, I have Missouri. I think they're gonna have a pretty good tournament, especially if I thought that like O'Toole would win it. I just think that they're sneaky at a lot of weights. Like Mako could beat Plot, get into a really good situation. I think they just have the ability to. Now, once again, they haven't necessarily done that at the national tournament very well. I just think they could be 5. If I really had to, I think probably NC State realistically will be 5. I think 4 is Arizona State, 3 Michigan, 2 Iowa, Penn State winning it. But I think Missouri can get right up there to make it kind of competitive with NC State at that fifth level.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the year, I didn't pick Michigan, and they would be at 77 points without Soriano, or 72 points. So I sort of stand by that. I still think I was wrong. They're going to finish in the top 5 for sure, obviously. I'm going to go with Cornell at 5 just because I picked them, but I really think that the way they're listed here is how they're going to finish. And I think ASU, I interviewed Zeke this morning. You go back-to-back trophies, it's hard to recruit against that. People stop saying, yeah, they just got lucky last year. Hey, they just caught lightning in the bottle in the back. Like, they have 7 All-Americans here. So, they've got Courtney, they've got McGee, they've got Parco, they've got Teamer, they've got Valencia, they've got Norfleet, and they've got Schultz. So I think 6 of those guys are going to place. Iowa, it's obviously super health dependent, right? Like Ayala, banged up shoulder. Ironman, banged up knee. I think the key for Iowa is, can Murin place and can Caleb Young place? Because they're good enough, but they're not really seeded to place there. And that's extra point. Can Marinelli punch through, right? Like, he has underperformed his seed several times. Not saying he's overseeded, you just lose one bad match. Those things happen, right? Kemmer is a 5 seed. If Kemmer won the tournament, you and me were at that match. Him and Starachi, that overtime match was insane. They both could have won or lost that match. The times, the scoreboard guys are wrong. A bunch of people did a bunch of stuff wrong, but that match could easily go the other way. Can Abe Assad win a couple matches on the back? Jacob Warner, if he could wrestle the whole 7 minutes, could be a national champion. Like, he finds ways to let matches get away from him late. And Cassiopei's on the bottom side of the bracket, and that's the best spot to be. And obviously, when you're wrestling an Olympic gold medalist, you're like, realistically, second's the best you're going to get. And he's got a chance to take 2nd, not 3rd. And so I think Iowa, some things could go right and they could beat Michigan, because like Michigan, if Cam Amin didn't place, it wouldn't shock you. If Rucky didn't place, it wouldn't shock you. If Massa doesn't make the finals and he's got to wrestle Heidley or somebody really good on the back and takes 5th or 6th, that's how those gaps could get, switched. So I'll take Iowa 2nd. I don't know if it's a smart pick, probably isn't, but Mark just sent his picks in. He's got Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, NC State, Cornell. So he is not running for governor in Arizona. That is not happening.
Nope.
I, on the other hand, have Sun Devil golf privileges out there. So
There you go.
there you go. All right. So that's it for us. I think we will pick, I'm going to pick Gable as my outstanding wrestler. I think that's probably the least courageous thing I've done all day. But besides that, I think we're good to go. So you got anything else before we boogie?
No, I do think that Gable, of course, gets the O-dub, but I think that if in a manner in which that like the tournament goes the way that like kind of we've described it, we could have a crazy diverse national championship roster.
Yeah. Well, at the Big 12s, 11 of the 12 teams had a finalist.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. This is something, I don't think there's ever been 10 undefeated national champions. Okay. At 25, there could be Suriano. At 33, there could be RBY or Fix. At 41, there could be Lee, Ironman, or Rivera. At 49, there could be Yanni or Tariq. At 57, there could be Carr, Deacon, or Teamer. At 65, it could be Wick or O'Toole. At 74, it could be Starachi. At 84, could be Hidley or Keckheisen, even though they're seeded 3 and 4. At 97, I don't think anyone's undefeated. And at heavyweight, I think in all likelihood, it will be Gable. So if you say there's no one at 97 and heavyweight's pretty much a lock. If I said to you, I also think it's very likely we're going to get a national champion that's undefeated at 33, one of those two guys. Okay. I think it's very likely we're going to have a champion at 49 that's undefeated and Yanni or Tariq. I think it's very likely we're going to have an undefeated champion at 57 between Carr, Deacon, and Teamer. Okay. If I said to you 7.5 is the over under for undefeated national champions, do you take 8 or 9, or do you take 6 or 7?
I'd probably take six or 7, just because I'm scaredy cat.
It's 7.5 feels like the right number, right? Like 6.5, I think you go over. Like it feels like 7's the number.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, if you're against it, you go, hey man, Suriano could lose to Vito, right?
Yeah.
If we stay 33, 41, 49, or 57 are there, 65, if Marinelli won it, wouldn't shock everybody, right?
Right.
74 is a weight where if Starachi doesn't win it, he'll have done nothing wrong.
Right.
And 84, if you think Amin or Brooks is going to win it, then that kills that one. And 97 is a lock. So it feels like I think the number is 7. I think that's the number if you're picking on the heads. If you guys are out there making picks, and then you want to donate to USA Wrestling for the free advice, we're here for all of it. For Mark on his way here, for Grant, who I'm going to see later on tonight, I'm David. Appreciate you guys. Goodbye.